At Bundanon, students were provided with all of the resources needed to create and explore artworks ranging from different categories to different skill sets. The first artwork taken on by students was the art form of printmaking, which was pioneered by George Braque. Braque lived from 1882 to 1963 and is also well known for his forefront position on the movement of Cubism in the art world. At Bundanon, students were first asked to create their backgrounds for their prints. This involved tearing and cutting up pieces of different paper in a range of sizes to be stuck onto a blank piece of coloured or white paper. The students needed to arrange these pieces of paper in differing orders so as to exemplify the randomness and purity of artwork. The next student used a thin piece of foam and a pen to create a pattern of a fish that was taken from traditional indigenous stories. This would be utilised in the prints as the overlaying pattern that brought the artwork together. Students used the pen in a variety of ways to scratch the picture of the fish into the foam and to create patterns around the fish. The students then used special printing paints to transfer the scrapings of the fish onto their collages that they made earlier. They had a selection of white, black, red and yellow to choose from and needed to choose colours that would make their fish stand out on the canvas rather than blend in. The prints were then left to dry on a rack for collection later on in the day. Students then created a new collage which comprised of different forms of artwork, such as drawing a river, both using visual cues from a map and others freehand, shading a leaf to symbolise the country, tearing maps and cutting paper to represent the area of Bundanon, and the creator of the Institute, Arthur Boyd. These were all used in conjunction with painting of the borders of the drawn river so as to make an abstract collage of a multitude of genres in the same artwork. Painting was used as a major genre of Vasily Kandinsky, who was a Russian painter who lived from 1866 to 1944. He was seen as a large player in abstract art and utilized the emotions and ideas that music could invigorate in audiences to create his artworks. His artworks were seen as deeply spiritual as they could convey universal human emotions and ideas. This type of painting was shown in the students' art as they needed to flow their painting so as to match the flow of the rivers they had just drawn. Vernon R. Key is an Aboriginal artist who began his artworks recreating Spider-Man comics. After training at a screen printing course in Cairns, R. Key developed and honed his skills drawing in pen, pencil and charcoal. His inspirations came from other Indigenous artists such as Richard Bell and Gordon Bennett. R. Key's artworks found grounding in political attacks on colonial racism and abuse, becoming a large supporter of Indigenous rights and views. This form of artwork was used by the students to add more depth to the multifaceted collage created earlier. This would incorporate their freehand drawing a kangaroo paw flower and placing it onto the collage as to add depth and colour. Henry Moore was a sculptor who lived from 1898 to 1986. He mastered modelling in clay, plaster and bronze. However, Moore preferred to create his artworks from solid pieces of material such as wood and stone. Much of Moore's inspiration came from women and earth. However, he spent time travelling in order to expand his influential horizon. Sculpting was done as the next task for students. The first type of sculpting was two-dimensional sculpture of a mythical creature that students had to cut out and create. The final 3D sculpture that follows more closely with Moore's artworks was of a monster that students had to create from random everyday items. The students could use multiple methods to create their monsters, including pipe cleaners, twine, hot glue guns with adult guidance, and zip ties. If students finished early, they were encouraged to extend upon their monsters using more creative ways to symbolize their ferocity. At the end of the day, students were asked to reflect on and appreciate the artworks that they had created, using a critical mind frame to analyze and discuss the different genres of art that they had created, what else they could use the art forms for, and what they could have done differently and what they'd like the most. The day at Bundanon was a complete success and gave students the ability to create artworks that represented different subject matter and utilize a range of techniques and skills. It also provided students with the ability to discuss and explain why artists make particular artworks and how different interpretations can come from the same art. The day also provided students with the opportunity to explore and recreate art forms that were made apparent and famous by artists from all around the world and who lived during different eras. This allowed students to create rich and deep understandings and knowledge about art and the effect it can have on multiple people. To finish off the day, students were asked to view, appreciate and critique a picture on the wall that was an Arthur Boyd painting. This was used to show different techniques and textures that can be created in one artwork and how they can be achieved through different processes. Students were also asked to express the emotions stimulated by the artwork and how this can be achieved in any artwork created by anyone.